I would like to invite Dr. Christian Bock from the Landwirtschaftliche Rentenbank and Paul Plöttner from Boston Consulting Group to the stage. They will provide exclusive insights into the brand new and yet to be published study about the European AgriTech market. For the study, they surveyed, you are already there, sorry. But I know, hello Christian. Yeah, you surveyed for the study investors as well as farmers, and we're happy to hear what you found out. Stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. It's fantastic to be here and with such an inspiring group of founders, investors, and partners who are driving innovation in agriculture. As Rentenbank, we are deeply embedded in the agriculture sector in Germany, and at the same time, we play a role as an investor in AgTech venture capital funds. This dual role gives us a unique perspective, and we see it as our responsibility to contribute to a well-informed investor ecosystem, what we do today. That's why I'm excited to share some key insights with you, alongside Paul Plöttner from BCG, from a study we have conducted together. At its core, it explores why AgTech remains a standout investment category, even in today's cautious markets. Let's dive into these insights and explore the opportunities ahead. Next slide. One more. Thank you. So first, let's look what's happening, shaping agriculture in the next few years. First, the planet. Yes, so climate change is already affecting where and how we grow food. Farmland is moving north, and water supply is becoming less predictable. Farmers need to focus on adapting and being resilient. The second is the population. We are heading towards 9 or 10 billion people by 2050, and diets are changing. People want more protein, personalized options, and hopefully sustainable food. The third is the producer. Farming is evolving. Farms are getting bigger with people working in this sector. Leave it. This puts pressure on farm operations. Fourth, the production. There's a push for better soil and sustainable practices, changing what farmers need, like plant protection substances, fertilizer, seeds, and machinery. This shift requires new tools and technologies. And the last, policies. Governments are offering more incentives for climate-friendly farming and setting new rules for health and the environment. So overall, agriculture faces big challenges, but also huge opportunities for innovation. Now, when we look to the venture capital world, like here, so to those willing to invest in new technologies to tackle these challenges, AgTech needs the right context. Funding is down, you see, the last few years, but not because AgTech is weak. It's a global trend affecting all sectors. The capital hasn't vanished. It's being used more carefully over it. While fewer deals are happening, the average value is slightly down, showing larger investments per deal. This pullback of the so-called tourist money has left a more experienced investor base. Investors now focus on companies with strong strategies, solid technologies, and clear growth paths. The correction, through short term, is healthy for the ecosystem, pushing startups to meet real customer needs and building lasting value. The key message: AgTech's core potential remains strong, because the need for agriculture transformation and innovation is still urgent. Next slide, please. Yes, thanks. Combining both trends shows a clear picture. Global pressure like climate change and food security are intensifying, while venture funding is temporarily cautious. This creates a finance gap where innovation urgency is high, but capital is low, is cautious. For those with long-term visions, like Rentenbank, This gap offers great investment opportunities. Policy is advancing with the support for sustainable practices, and food security is now a geopolitical priority. These are strong, lasting trends. The market quality has improved with fewer tourist investors and more experts. AgTech instruments today focus on systematic change, benefiting from better valuations and a calmer market. Remember, some of the best venture returns come from investing during cautious times when opportunities are growing stronger. Now I will hand over to Paul from BCG to present the results of our study about the AgTech market assessment.
Yes, thank you so much. And let me start with giving you some guidance on what we focused on in our report. So basically, when we look at the agri-food tech verticals that we see, right? I mean, we structured the market in 6 key elements, from ag biotechnology all the way down to novel farming systems and innovative foods. Focus for us in our report together with the Rentenbank were the 2 ones that you see highlighted here, really having I would say, a tech focus and a farm management focus. We detailed those, or we structured the market in a bit more detail to really look now what is the potential, what is the feasibility, what is the growth path of those different segments. And in total, looked at 17 technologies across 10 categories that you see listed here. Important to notice, and that's I think one of the key themes that also cuts across the analysis. I mean, there's different depths of value creation that the different verticals typically bring. So first step would be sensing, so typically a key enabler for other technologies. Then the next step would be then with the sensing helping growers to decide and make informed decisions. Then the third one, and you see some of those elements you might also well know, is then the acts, basically. So really taking over some of the activities, really taking over some of the process that farmers typically face. As first step, what we did is was listening to the market. So what do growers actually tell us in those 2 segments? What is important to them, and what moves the needle for them? And I think 2 elements stick out, and I want to show them to you today. First one, farmer trust. So who are the influencers for farmers when they think about adopting innovations and when they think about applying new technologies? And the short answer is it's basically people they know, and it's basically people they can interact with. So it's on the one hand consultants and independent consultants. They consult friends, family, and wherever they can touch and feel solutions and can also discuss with others. Whereas when you look a little bit further down, social media piece, websites, blogs, I think that is nice to inform, but at the end will not drive the decision to buy something. Second one, purchasing criteria, always an interesting one. So what are the topics the farmers focus on when making the decision to adopt or buy a new technology? And here's a really clear picture, and I think you mentioned it in the intro already. It's all about business impact. So it's about cost savings, labor easing, and revenue increase. And you see that, I mean, we checked also, is it different between the different areas of farming, but I mean, the top 3 trends, I would say, cut across the entire industry. So that's when you think about adopting tech, the first things that come to mind for a farmer. Coming back to the technologies, the way we looked at the market now is from 2 lenses to assess and to find out what is attractive, what is feasible, and how do the different, I would say, tech verticals compare to each other. And basically, the 2 perspectives are the farmer perspective. So is it a profitable solution? Does it help me grow revenues or profit? Or is it something that's desirable? Is it easy to use? Does it integrate with my operation? Is it complex to implement it? And combine this with a market perspective. That's also a really important dimension from a startup perspective, because it's nice to be and to enable farmers to grow profits, but on the other hand, there also needs to be a market where you can do that. And there we looked, are there structural barriers that we see in the market for some of the verticals, or are there economic barriers? For example, needing a really high upfront investment, which is typically not easy for startups to gain. Looking at our technologies, and we will have the details then in our report that will be published, but I would say a sneak peek. There are 3 buckets of startup or of verticals that we see. The first one you see under A, typically high attractivity, because those are all technologies that are in the act area, so help actually improving processes and taking over processes. But feasibility for startups, especially, typically not too high, because those markets are highly dense, and a lot of OEMs, of course, playing in those fields. The middle ground, I would say on both ends average, there we see great potential to differentiate with business models and to also partner with startups, I would say, in adjacent areas. In the very right, areas that currently not have the highest attractivity, because you see when you look at them, some of them are emerging, but still have a high feasibility at the moment. So the market is not taken by someone, and there's room to grow. And looking at, and that was the next step in our analysis, what that means for the investors. We structured a bit in 4 areas, right? 4 strategic areas you can think about from an investor point of view now. First of all, the bottom one, right? If there's too limited attractivity at the moment for the farmer, linking it with what growers want, that's the number 1 prio. There might be a dead end for some technologies, at least currently, where there's simply not enough room to grow at the moment. That, of course, might change when the circumstances change. If new regulations can change the game, there might also be different pockets or small pockets within those technologies that, of course, could still be attractive. Then the left one, the buzz and flip area, we called it, those are in the dense market of OEMs and, I would say, quite mature technologies. If you find some, I would say, innovations there, it's about really then scaling them and then partnering or exiting via an OEM. The cherry pickers in the middle, here it's really about finding the differentiation, right? So how do you find the right and the promising startups, and how do you link it also with the other pieces in the journey of a grower? And then on the very right, scale and conquer. Those areas, the untapped areas, here it's really about capturing market share, growing quickly, and say protecting the market share as you get bigger. And then the last one, just looking at what the market looks like at the moment. Also from our analysis, there's, I would say, three big areas when you combine the farmer perspective and the investment perspective. So on the top left, areas with a high implementation by growers, and typically at the moment very low investment. So those are areas, and you see as well, digital documentation, government systems, livestock monitoring. They are either quite taken already, or they have a high fragmentation and are hard to scale. So those are typically areas where investors are not focused too much into. If you go on the next one, on the right, implementation high and investment high, I think those are the areas where most of the activity in the moment happens at the moment. Because one, those technologies have a high ROI for farmers, and on the second hand, they really are quite modular, they are scalable, you can combine them well with other areas. So making really, I would say, promising targets also for investors. Then the bottom right, I would say those are the future bets. There's low implementation because farmers have not yet or have started to adopt those technologies, but already quite high investment in it, because there's opportunity to grow, there's opportunity to scale, and the solutions promise high profitability for farmers. Having said that, I think overall what we heard is, or what we see is, high focus on profitability, high focus on business needs, and investors, picking their battle, I would think that.
Okay, thank you very much for this interesting insight. The first insight for the study. I think we are ready in 10 days, 2 weeks,
Yeah.
or less. And everybody will get an email from Tech Quartier or Rentenbank with a link to the study. So when I see the participants today, I have 3 questions for you. Paul, what are the implications for the daily work of a VC investor if you see the results from this study?
I think the key topic here is differentiation. So really looking at the market in a structured way, finding the strategy, finding out which verticals, which areas do I want to focus on, then really lining this with the funding strategy, right? Mm-hmm. Because there's a lot going on, and I think the key is to focus on some areas and understand them really in depth to then also make the, I would say, nuanced decision which business models can work and which business model likely will not work.
Okay. And if you change the slide, what are the lessons for the startups when they are looking for funding, if you see your results?
They would really focus on the farmer needs at the end, right? So I think that the 2 things, one is focus on profitability and increasing results for farmers and making this also quite easily to track and to understand for farmers. Then I think the second piece is when you think about the go-to-market, there needs to be, if you want to drive adoption, some element of human interaction or some trusted advisors that say help the farmers to adopt. And I think the third one is thinking about how can you partner across the grower journey. So how can you partner or connect with other pieces to make I would say, from a farmer perspective, make it simple and not have too many different steps, technologies, and interfaces.
Okay. So market, funding, everything is important, but we have the other side, the politics side. So, we are working really closely to the Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Heimat now. And what public instruments do you see as essential to support AgTech startups? And at what stage are these required? Now, I think it's possibly different.
I think, of course, need to differentiate between what is short-term, what is start-up, really in the first phase and at the beginning, and what is a more mature startup. I think in the first phase, it's typically important to get funding without diluting shares, to just focus on the business, having some funding secured, and being able to work on the business and the business model. I think here, also you have some of your subordinated loans that work well, right? But I think, of course, there can always be more and faster and earlier in the journey, right? That's typically the first hard step for founders to get some funding to really get going, right? If you go a little bit further down the maturity, I think later on for startups, I think it's important, or there's typically one point, especially when you're not a pure software player, where you need to build, for example, a production site, or we need to do a step change to really scale. And that typically is in a phase where the solution is not fully profitable for the farmers, so adoption is not 100% there. So I think finding a product or financial support, and especially in this phase, I think is key and would help to have a lot of startups to actually scale and then showcase the value. Because once you push over this barrier, typically this is when you can also take off.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a good time to discuss about new instruments for the government and for Rentenbank. Thank you very much, Paul. So we see technological progress alone is not sufficient now. It needs both investors, practical solutions, and a reliable regulatory framework. The only way AgTech can realize its full potential for protective, sustainable, and resilient agriculture is through cooperation between all players along the value chain. We would like to encourage investors to expand their risk appetite and utilize the value creation potential in the AgriTech market. And I think this study will be a good view on the market on the time now. and hope you get a lot of information from the study. Thank you very much.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, Eva.
But thank you to you my job because you asked that already so questions. I think with a view to the clock, we keep it that way. And I say thank you. We have a perfect foundation now with that we can build up the whole day.
Cool.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
The cat.